All right, so right here we have sort of the loading page when you open up Photoshop. So a couple things that we have first is we've got the new file open, and then any of your recent files are going to be right here. Go ahead and click new file right here at the top. Your alternative is to go file new. Either one's fine here. And you're going to get this screen right here. And this is going to show you your different options for the drawing area that you want to set up. All right. And so you can set a name, you can do custom document types, which is going to default you to certain specific sizes and formats. So you can see how all those things change. Let me cover what those are real quick. So right now I have a US paper set. It's going to give me a size as an option there, and then 8.5 by 11, 300 pixels per inch, RGB color, and we've got a couple options there. Now, when you're setting this up, you're going to have obviously different settings for the width and height that you can go through here. Um, if you are doing a paper format, then you're going to want to make sure that you get the correct paper format as far as the width, height, and inches. The resolution is going to determine how many pixels per inch. That's going to affect your print quality, so you are going to want to make sure that you use 300 if you intend to print this. As far as color mode, when you are printing, you do want to make sure you select Cmyk color, and that's going to use the cyan, magenta, yellow, and K stands for black as a color format, and that's what printers are going to use. So you'll be able to more visually see what's going on and how your output is going to look, and I can show you guys something on that when we get to that point. Don't worry about the 1-bit, 8-bit, 16-bit, 32-bit. That's just the amount of bits that the colors use to determine or to hold their value. 8-bit is completely fine for this class. Don't worry about that. If I go back here and just go to web, again, it's going to switch to most common sizes. I'm going to go ahead and choose web minimum, but you can also choose different widths. And again, you have the same options for the actual units that are being used here. Your resolution is 72 pixels per inch. Now, I had a student last semester ask me, well, what does 72 pixels an inch matter on digital format? No, it absolutely does not. So don't worry about that. It's just sort of a standard to put 72 pixels per inch if you're doing digital formats. Just be aware that if you are going to switch to print, it's going to come out a lot smaller, okay? Or at least it's not going to have as high of resolution. So when you are working in media, this type of media, you want to make sure that you are choosing things that are large enough that they will have a high resolution in print if you intend to print. Otherwise, you can just kind of go with whatever resolution works for the project that you're working on. You can go with whatever size or width or height works for the project you're working on, and the resolution isn't terribly important, okay? I would highly recommend leaving the background contents white for now. And then we're not going to worry about color profiles right now. That's kind of a bit, it's sort of outside of the spec of this class. So I'm going to go with these settings that I have right here. So I'm doing a web document, web minimum 1024 by 768 pixels. Again, resolution is sort of irrelevant for this, and white background. And I'm going to hit OK, and that's going to launch me into a new window here. Now, first thing I want you guys to do is come up here, and you should have some kind of drop down here for the workspace, I believe is what it's called in here. Yeah, workspace. I'm going to choose graphic and web. Essentials is also nice. These sort of change the options and menus. Give it a second. That are going to be available to you. I've got things jumping out all over my screen. I think that the graphic and web is a nice balance of sort of fonts and things over here, and I'm fairly used to it. So that's the one I'm going to use. You can feel free to kind of choose a different option here work through them and try different things over time, and just kind of figure out what you like. Okay, so I have this huge document right here for what we're actually going to talk about. In this case, we're going to talk about pixels, and so because of that, I'm going to zoom way in, and I'll kind of come back I'm jumping ahead a bit right now, and I just want to show you guys something first. So, dragging these rulers out. Is that right? That must... That's not right. Let me just go to the top corner. Alright, so top corner. And one by one. Cool. Alright, so right here, it looks like it's a 1 pixel by 1 pixel area. I wanted to talk to you guys about pixels. Alright, so what is a pixel? A pixel is basically what an image is made up of, and you're going to have whatever your resolution is. It's going to be that many across by that many up and down. Or, yeah. So each of these pixels, oh, let me do fixed size. There we go. And you should see in a minute here, the pixels themselves are going to be pretty small. Yeah, okay. So we are working with 1 pixel right here, all right? So that's the smallest unit that you're going to use inside of Photoshop here. And because we did that white background, I can just go in here and... Okay, and then... Come on. Okay. Where is it? There we go. Okay. What am I doing? All right. All right. So, oh, there it is. Okay. So when I talk about a pixel, you can see that right here, if I color that space in, there's 1 pixel right there. If I can move it there, notice how it only snaps to different spots. It's because this is basically a large grid of individual units, all right? And so if I just kind of tile these out, you can see that we have just a whole bunch of 1 pixel, 1 pixel here, 1 pixel here, and they're all in this grid, all right? And then from that, oh, deselect, all right. So from that grid, if I click on this, I can sample it, and we'll go to info. Don't worry about following me on this part. I just wanted to show you this info menu right here, and you can see when I hover over these different menus, we've got RGB and CMYK colors that are going to show up for all of them, okay? So what I don't have right now is a good way to show you guys what the difference between additive and subtractive colors are. But RGB is going to be a additive color, which means right now you see how the RGB is all zeros there. If I was to add certain frequencies of color or different things to that color channel, then what I'm going to be doing is adding to that color. So if I apply this red right here and then sample it, you can see that I've added 233 red, 64 green, and 64 blue to this to create that red, right? Now, if I go over to the black section here, and that brings up kind of something else too. So if I go to the white section here with the pen and deselect and hover over it, you can see that the CMYK is 0%, 0%, 0%. So that's a subtractive color, which means it's going to subtract wavelengths as it hits the paper. And we're assuming that it's going to be working with paper, right? So that's that difference between where you would see one color if it's CMYK and another color if it's RGB. And so if I change this and I go to CMYK color, keep an eye on that red. I don't know how much it's going to change, but you should see, don't merge, okay. That's not a great color to do that with. Let me get a couple different colors in here. And usually blues are a good one because blues are always going to be way more intense. Oh, yeah, you can kind of see right there. So let me just, I'm going to do super intense green here too. Okay, so see how those are kind of like a little bit muted compared to what you might see on a screen, but if I then change our color mode back to RGB, don't merge, and then go here, and you can see that right there, there's that huge difference between what we'd be working with in a blue, or sorry, a green, that's going to be an RGB format. Actually, why don't I stop? Pull up the history real here, quick here. I'm going to leave that square there, and I'm actually going to put that there, and then we'll put an intense blue here, and intense red right there. So it's not a super scientific test, but you can see that those colors are a bit different. Okay, so when you are planning on working on a project where you are planning on printing, you want to make sure that you're going to be setting up your color profiles to print in a CMYK format, and that those colors are going to be so that you more accurately understand what the output is going to be. All right, so if you're going to be printing it, make sure it's in CMYK. If not, then you're going to be printing it, or then you'll be setting it up in RGB for digital. All right, so that's our first project, or that's our first video, and I'm going to end this one, and then we will switch over to another one where I will cover sort of working with different tools here in Photoshop.